America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, Wednesday, hump day. Hello, everybody, everywhere. Everybody on TikTok, everybody on Instagram, everybody on Facebook, everybody on YouTube, everybody on Substack, everybody. What am I missing? Facebook, everybody everywhere. Welcome everybody who's MAGA. Welcome everybody who's a progressive, far left progressive. Welcome everybody who's somewhere in the middle. Welcome Democrats. Welcome Republicans. Welcome all you politically homeless folk. Welcome all you who identify as independents. Former Congressman Joe Walsh with you this Wednesday. I want to start like this. I just want to review. At the start, MAGA fires at me. I love it. That means they've been drinking their coffee. Good stuff. I want to review right here, because I don't know that I've done this in a while. A big part of what I'm trying to do with this daily show. You know where I am politically. I'm a politically homeless independent. Philosophically, I'm a former Tea Party libertarian. I still adhere to damn near almost all of that philosophy. I'm someone who believes in freedom, free speech, free trade, the free markets, limited government, individual responsibility, tolerance, decency, America, that shining city on the hill. We need more immigrants in this country legally. I've got my beliefs. You know what I am. Philosophically, I oppose Donald Trump with every bone in my body because I believe Donald Trump is everything our founding fathers feared. You know that. You know that. Trump won, though, in November, fair and square. And unlike Donald Trump and unlike most of Trump's supporters, we all acknowledge that Donald Trump won. We were big enough. We were decent enough. We were patriotic enough in November of 2024 to look. We weren't happy. We were disappointed. The fair's fair. Trump won. And we conceded. And we all congratulated Trump. And Kamala Harris conceded and congratulated Donald Trump. Again, doing what Donald Trump will never, ever be big enough to do. But I made a point to myself shortly after Trump won in November that I did not want to spend the next 4 years coming onto this show every day, going on to TV and radio and other podcasts every day, and just bitching and moaning about Donald Trump. Didn't want to do that. Wasn't going to do that. I found when I was out campaigning for Kamala Harris last year that Americans love to have face-to-face conversations, that Americans right now at this moment in time are longing to have face-to-face conversations. There's a hunger. I felt a palpable hunger out there among Americans of all political perspectives for face-to-face conversation. This world we live in, this world of smartphones and the internet and podcast and Uber and Grubhub and YouTube, and you go right down the line, man. We live in a world right now where we live on our phones and we really never have to leave our homes. We can almost function daily without ever having to interact with other human beings, face to face without other human beings. I think that's a bad way to live. And I think politically, it's dividing us and it's increasing hate. So I made up my mind a few weeks after Trump won that I was going to use this show and I was going to spend a lot of time these next few years every week going somewhere into America with me, myself, and a camera. And I was going to have face-to-face conversations with Americans. We're going to film those conversations. I believe this was my thesis in my head. You've heard me say this before. I believe America is like a married couple on the verge of a divorce, and we're giving marriage therapy one last shot. I believe that. I worry that we can't keep this thing, this 249-year-old experiment together. I believe face-to-face conversation is our marriage therapy. And I believe face-to-face conversation is listening to each other, trying to understand each other is the way we heal the dangerous divide in this country. So I set out to do it. And we've been doing it now for a few months. Every week, I go somewhere in this great, good, decent, big country, and I'll sit down with 3 people. I'll sit down with 30 people. I'll sit down in living rooms. I'll sit down in a neighborhood tavern. I'll sit down around a kitchen table in any community, city, or town, neighborhood in this country and have conversations with Americans, talking about where this country's at, talking about where they want this country to be at, talking about our politics, talking about how divided we are, talking about can we keep it together, talking about their hopes, your hopes, dreams, worries, fears, all of that. I sit down with and speak with and listen to people of all political perspectives. I'm a former MAGA guy. I'm a reformed MAGA gangbanger. I sit down with MAGA. I sit down with far lefties. I sit down with everybody in between. Sometimes we bring different viewpoints together. And sometimes we just sit and talk to, a few weeks ago, we were talking to 6 Hollywood lefties. And sometimes I'll just sit down with a group of Trump supporters. Sometimes we'll bring them together. We film these conversations. Because again, I think there's a hunger for face-to-face conversations. So we film them and we put the conversations up every week. That's a big part of what I'm doing with this show. It's a big part of what I do with my life right now. And every week on this show, right now, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this show, we talk about the conversation I've had in a certain place in this country. And every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we show you a short clip from that conversation. Can't show you the full hour, hour and a half long conversation. You can go to my Substack to get that. We show you clips about certain topics, hopefully to interest you to go to my Substack and subscribe and listen to the conversations in their entirety. But we do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this show. Play you a clip, talk a little bit about what those folks are thinking and talking about, and then we get on to the news of the day. Once a week on this show, usually Thursdays, I'll have a long form conversation with someone I disagree with. That's how this podcast started, Social Contract with Joe Walsh. It all started with a weekly show where I would sit down with somebody I disagreed with and we'd model how to have a respectful conversation with somebody you disagree with. I used to be a really divisive political asshole. Haven't been, tried not to be for the last number of years. And so now I'm trying to help heal the divide that I helped to create. So that's kind of what this show is every single week. We are in the western suburbs of Chicago this week, Glen Ellen, Illinois, to be specific. And we're showing you content from a conversation I had around a kitchen table in Glen Ellen, Illinois, western suburb. I'm from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. A conversation I had with 7 good, decent folks in Glen Ellen, Illinois. Sitting around a kitchen table, there were 4 Harris supporters, 1 Trump supporter, and 2 people who voted for neither Harris or Trump. We got into a bunch of interesting stuff in this conversation. It was a wonderful conversation. And we talked about some of it on Monday. I'm going to throw another piece of that conversation at you right now. Reminder right now that, remember, I'm just going to show you TikTok, a short clip of that conversation right now. If you want to hear the longer versions of this particular topic or the entire conversation with these folks around the kitchen table in Glen Ellen, Illinois, just go to my Substack, Social Contract with Joe Walsh.substack.com. Go there, Social Contract with Joe Walsh.substack.com, and you can listen to the whole conversation. This piece today, again, this shorter clip of about a 8, 9, 10-minute piece, I'm just going to play you a minute or two right now. I put 2 questions in front of these folks when I sat down with them. I put more in front of them, but this one relates to 2 questions. Question number 1, I want you to think about this. Are there still basic American principles that almost all of us agree on? Are there? Are there still basic principles? What America is, what it means to be American, that the vast majority of us still agree on, can come together on? And the second question I asked was, and I've asked this question a lot, do you think your kids are going to have it better than you? Do you think your grandkids are going to have it better than you? Interesting stuff. I'm going to play you a clip right now. TikTok, I'll hold the phone. Keith, fire away. Freedom still. Yeah, you still think 80 to 90% of the Americans believe in basic individual freedom.
And personal rights.
I mean, the First Amendment.
Freedom of speech.
First Amendment.
The First Amendment.
If we put the First Amendment up for a vote tomorrow, would most Americans say keep it?
90%.
It's actually an interesting question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you?
Absolutely.
I mean, freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
The whole ball of wax. Freedom of the press.
Freedom of the press, freedom to assemble.
Maybe the gun thing.
Who wouldn't believe in that?
What'd you say?
Guns need a little bit of change.
Well, I was going to say, my favorite, I shouldn't say this on film, I'll say it. First Amendment's my favorite. Second Amendment's right there for me. If we put the Second Amendment up for a vote in America today, keep it or get rid of it, what would most Americans say? I'm a big Second Amendment guy, be careful.
I think
I still think most
reasonable
would say
people would say
but,
keep it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there's got to
Keep it, but
With modifications.
There's a keep it but.
right.
keep it, but
There's a keep it but.
Just common sense things.
How,
Common sense.
raise your hand if you have children. Raise your hand if you have grandchildren. Is there anybody in this kitchen? Be nakedly honest. Is there anybody in this kitchen that truly believes in your heart your children are going to have it better in this country than you've had it?
no.
Is there anybody, I mean, across the divide,
Yeah,
Trump
no.
supporter and Kamala Harris supporter, anybody who thinks our kids are going to have it better?
No.
I'll tell you, everywhere I go when I ask that question, the answer is no. I hope you heard that TikTok. There it is. There's a 2-minute taste of my conversation at the kitchen table, around a kitchen table in Glen Ellen, Illinois. Again, that's a little clip from about an 8 to 9 to 10-minute segment where we got into both of those questions. Are there still basic American principles we all believe in? And do you think your kids and your grandkids will have it better than you? I'm not gonna give away the answers, but that was a group of 7 middle-aged, maybe a little older than middle-aged Americans, suburban, white Americans. And to a man and a woman, they said no on that second question. Our kids, our grandkids will not have it better than us. It didn't matter where their politics were. The Trump supporters said that. The Harris supporters said that. The people who voted for neither Harris or Trump, they all said, nope, My kids in America will not have it better than me. My grandkids in America will not have it better than I've had it. I want you to think about how you'd answer that. I'll tell you this, that's a question I've asked for the last number of years. And I'll tell you this, people in my generation, 90% of us say no. My generation, I'm an old fart. We worry and don't believe our kids and our grandkids will have it better. Why? We got into why they think that. A lot of it had to do with freedom, a loss of freedom. They kept pointing toward that. Debt, the cost of buying a home, student loan debt, all the rest. But an interesting question, but think about that. Do you think your kids, TikTok, your grandkids will have it better in this country than you've had it? And I think that's combined. A lot of that's tied into that first question. Are there basic American principles we all still kind of agree on? MAGA and left? Are there basic American founding principles that both sides can say they still embrace? This group struggled with that. And you heard part of that conversation, the First Amendment. If we put the First Amendment up for a vote in America today, would the First Amendment be approved? Would it? If we put the Second Amendment up for a vote in America today, would most Americans support the Second Amendment? They struggled with both of those questions. Generally, they believe that most Americans would still support the First Amendment. Freedom of the press, freedom of religion, free speech, all the rest. But they struggled with it, and they wondered about it, and they worried about it. Final point on this part of the conversation with these 7 folks around a kitchen table in Glen Ellen, Illinois, is there was a consensus again among whether you were a Trump supporter or a Harris supporter or a neither. Man, they all said, we're done. This country's done if people don't wake up. If people don't wake up. What does that mean? We got into it a little bit. But if people don't wake up, then most certainly our kids and our grandkids will not have it better than we've had it. Again, that's just a little snippet. We're in Glen Ellen this week. I'll show you some more on Friday, and I will always refer you to the longer versions of this conversation. I don't know about you, and I know we live, thanks, Keith, keep that up for a second. I know we live in a world where, 30 seconds and then you're done. 30 seconds and you lose everybody's attention. Joe, you got to say something in 30, 45 seconds because of social media, and then you're gone. Nobody will sit in front of something that's 2 minutes long, Joe. Nobody will sit and listen to something that's 10 minutes long, Joe. No way. We don't do that anymore, Joe. We're better today. We only listen to 30 seconds. I know. I've been told that forever. Well, tough. I think we put up 10-minute clips of conversations. I think people will listen to a 10-minute conversation of just regular Americans talking about stuff face to face. I think we put up the hour-long conversation that I had with these folks in Glen Ellen, Illinois. I think more Americans than you would think would listen to an hour-long conversation of regular Americans having a conversation with each other, not yelling at each other, not fighting, not debating, just having a conversation about what it means to be an American. How are we going to stay together, right? Their hopes, their fears, their concerns, struggling with, trying to understand each other. I think Americans would listen to longer filmed conversations. So as always, you can go there, socialcontractwithjoewalsh.substack.com. Go there, socialcontractwithjoewalsh.substack.com. In our archives and conversations with Joe section, we're putting up week by week by week all the conversations we're having. You can check them all out. Thank you. A couple issues today. I'm going to give you a different spin on this first issue. So what's right every day, a lot of stuff in the news, but there's always 2 or 3 things that jump to the top. So in the news right now, because there's a big old book right now that's come out about Joe Biden, the last couple of years, the cognitive decline, and Democrats and the people around him protected him and weren't open enough and transparent enough about Joe Biden's condition. A big book written out about that. And now a lot of Democrats are coming out and saying, yep, ooh, yeah. After the fact, yeah. And a lot of people in the media are saying, yeah. Let me be clear about something. I agree. Like I've said, every Democrat should be able to say Joe Biden had an amazing first term, a consequential first term. He got a lot done. He got stuff done that Trump dreamed about and could not get done. Right? Every Democrat should be able to say that. He did a lot of good for this country. But every Democrat should be able to say, but Joe Biden messed up. He said he was going to be a bridge. He said he was going to be a one-termer. He should have held to that pledge. And he should have gotten out. He should have announced earlier, wasn't running again. He messed up. Biden messed up. Stuck around too long, messed up. Helped get Trump elected, messed up. And the Democrats should be able to say, you know what, we messed up. We knew, we sort of knew he probably wasn't up to it. And we kind of just looked the other way and kept our mouths shut. Every Democrat should be honest enough and be able to say that. But here's my thing. As everybody in the media, political media right now is talking about Biden, not focused on the cognitive decline that's in the White House right now, and his name is Donald Trump, not talking about the lawless, corrupt, cruel, ignorant, dishonest, authoritarian, un-American, anti-democratic guy, madman in the White House right now. But by the way, Republicans and Democrats, we can talk about both. We can be honest and talk about both. Like we have the very thing our founding fathers feared currently in the White House. And yeah, Democrats messed up. They stuck with Biden too long. Both of those things are true. You shouldn't just talk about one of them. But here's a different perspective. And I've been very critical of Biden, and I've been critical of Democrats. And it, again, full disclosure, it didn't matter to me what condition Biden was in. It didn't matter to me if Biden would have been the candidate and he were 150 years old. I would have voted for whoever the Democrat was against Donald Trump. But here's a different perspective. As everybody rips on and rags on Biden this week and his cognitive decline, and nobody talks about Trump and his cognitive decline, think about it like this. Think about it like this. So yeah. Democrats took too long. They kind of built a circle around Biden and they protected Biden the last year or two of his presidency. Yeah, I get it. But think about this. Democrats knew Biden was physically unfit to be president. And you know what? Eventually, Democrats did something about that. They convinced him to do the right thing. Democrats did something about it. Yeah, late. Yeah, too late. But they did something about it. The leader of their party, the Democrats, was physically unfit to be president. And eventually, the Democrats stepped up and did something about that. Contrast that with this Republican Party. They've got a leader who's utterly morally unfit and temperamentally unfit and psychologically unfit and dangerous. But Republicans have never done anything about that. Republicans get down on their knees and they bow to their unfit leader. The Democrats did something about their unfit leader eventually. Trump's been this way for 9 years. It's like you got that guy on CNN, Scott Jennings, who all of a sudden, now he's making a lot of money because he became a Trumper. And so he loves it because he loves to make a lot of money. And he found out that's how you make a lot of money. Be a Trumper analyst on CNN, and you'll make a lot of money because there aren't many of them. Scott Jennings loves to say that this was the greatest cover-up in the history of American politics, what Democrats did with Biden, covering up how physically unfit he is. Excuse me? The greatest political cover-up in our country's history? What the Democrats did with Biden? Excuse me? Eventually, the Democrats did something about it, but excuse me? For 9 years, every single Republican elected official and most right-wing people in the media have known that Donald Trump is morally unfit to be president. They've known that Trump is a danger to this country. They've known psychologically and temperamentally how unfit and dangerous he is to this country. And they've never said anything. They've kept quiet. You talk about a cover-up. Man, that's a big old cover-up. That's way bigger than what Democrats might have done protecting physically unfit Joe Biden, just getting way too old Joe Biden. And I'll acknowledge the Democrats did kind of protect that. But man, that pales in comparison, doesn't it, to what Republicans have done. You talk about, Christopher James, a big cover-up. Every Republican has known how unfit Trump is. They've never said anything. They've purposely hid it and protected it and turned the other way. That's a cover-up. That's a cover-up. I just think that's a better way to look at this whole Biden cognitive decline thing and Trump. The Democrats were slow to the dance, but they eventually did something about their leader, their party leader, who was physically unfit. Man, the Republicans, they've got the most unfit person we've ever had in the White House, and they'll never do a thing about it. Who deserves praise and who doesn't? Who deserves an attaboy and who doesn't? So as you're getting beaten up this week, Democrats, all this stuff about Biden, take the offensive a little bit. Take to the offensive a little bit. Yeah, we messed up. About a year and a half, we messed up. We were a little late. Biden messed up. We messed up. We should have just, had that conversation with Joe Biden back in after the 2022 midterms. Gotcha, Joe. We messed up. But you know what, America? We eventually realized our guy was physically unfit, and we eventually did the right thing. We eventually sat our leader down and did something about it. That's something Republicans would never do about their leader, about their morally unfit leader, about their lawless, corrupt, dangerous threat to our democracy leader. No. Go on offense, Democrats, now with this Biden story. Go on offense. One other quick note, Keith, show me that headline on the putting people in other countries. So and I won't scream and holler about this because most people think I scream and holler too much, but understand how pissed off I am about this. So it turns out right now, in Trump's America right now, Trump's government is disappearing people into countries that are not their countries of origin. So we're scooping up Venezuelans on the street. We're sending them to El Salvador. Report now that we're scooping up people from immigrants in this country from Vietnam. We're dropping them off in the Sudan. We're scooping up people from off of our streets from Myanmar, and dropping them off in Libya. We're dropping people off in dangerous war-torn nations. Most importantly, we're dropping people. America is disappearing people into countries that are not their countries of origin. Man, that's got to be against the law, and lawsuits are being filed. That's got to be unconstitutional, and lawsuits are being filed. People are being taken to court, but it's wrong. Man, that's wrong. And how un-American, how ugly and how un-American. And are there Trump supporters who are okay with that? Like even Trump supporters who want everybody who's in this country illegally, no matter what, just get the heck out. Don't you at least think, if you believe that we should ship them back to their country of origin? It is against the law. It is unconstitutional. What Trump is doing right now, and it's happening every day, the reporting shows, people being flown to countries that are not their countries of origin. Eventually, a few weeks, a month or two down the road, the Trump administration will have to stop this. The judiciary branch will weigh in, and the Trump administration will have to stop this. But in the meantime, look at all the lives this Trump administration is destroying. Look at how this cruelty is forever destroying people's lives. And so you just decide, America, you decide. Is this the kind of America you want to live in? America, that shining city on the hill, Ronald Reagan, that shining city on the hill is now a country that's disappearing immigrants off of our streets and throwing them, dumping them off into strange countries. It's wrong. Thanks for listening, everybody. My email, thesocialcontractwithjoewalsh@gmail.com, all one word, thesocialcontractwithjoewalsh@gmail.com. If you want me to come to your town, your village, your neighborhood, your city, and have a face-to-face conversation with a group of people, email me, shoot me an invite. We're getting out there every single week. Again, listen to these conversations. Go to my Substack. All you got to do is subscribe. Go to my Substack. Listen to the conversations in their entirety. Thank you, TikTok. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a great week. Keep it up. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract